there's no such thing as anaerobic training. Anaerobic is just the byproduct of you no longer being aerobic. Thus, everything becomes aerobic training, and trying to push aerobically as hard or as far as you can before you actually have to default into something that is requiring anaerobic activity, right? And so with that, what we're seeing with just preliminary stuff, and I've put this out on the internet, is just basically, if I do a traditional aerobic workout and I'm breathing through my nose, I have a very aerobic response to that. The moment I open my mouth, I'm getting a very anaerobic reaction.
And that's somewhere where we don't want to be.
To a large degree. There's a time and a place for it. Absolutely. But it's not a trainable, so meaning if you don't actually need to be using glycogen, you probably shouldn't be using glycogen, because it's an emergency. It's a survival type energy, right?
So that will kick in. Your body will just naturally kick into that when it needs to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And to be totally open, and honest about this, is like, we're using all these energy systems all the time, right? But it's how much and what are we doing? And respiration control, and this is something yogis figured out long time ago, is that if I actually control my breath through poses, I'm actually doing that exact same thing. I'm actually not blowing off CO2 and allowing me to blow through. So it's like when you go to a yoga class and you hear people who can't do that, right? They're out of shape, right? So they can't actually control themselves through something because they're out of shape, whether they don't have the strength, or they don't have the cardiovascular fitness, cardiopulmonary fitness as a result of that. So then they have to breathe more because the CO2 buildup's too high. And that's why you actually are breathing, right? And so the same thing applies to fitness, and we just were never really looking at it in that manner. And that doesn't mean necessarily you're breathing from one position to the next, but to understand the patterning, and that respiration is nothing more than a byproduct of what's happening metabolically, what's happening in our body, what's the reaction to the work being done. And if I lose control of my breathing, you've lost control of the physiological responses that are going on. And so that was something, that's something meditation, the yoga world really grabbed onto, and, the human performance world really, there's definitely outliers and people who've been looking at this for quite some time, but to the degree that it's being looked at now, is just very different.